The Unity of Religion and Therapeutics in the New Thought, a Charles Fillmore article. In order to produce this unity, there must be a new statement and a new understanding of both religion and therapeutics. The man-God and the material body must both be obliterated. In their stead, the mind-God and the mind-body must be established. The man-God is not a feasible proposition, and scientific research reveals that matter is a form of motion and a universal energy, and the supposition that body is a solid substance has no foundation in fact. This is the edict of the physical scientist. This fact does away with all the old-time suppositions of a material body and its material laws. A new set of laws to fit the real body must be discovered and applied according to the facts in the case. The X-ray proves the body to be transparent and that the eye is a sight instrument of many limitations. It is the conclusion of scientists in nearly all schools of exact research that the eye is an extremely unsafe guide, that it reveals so limited a field of vision that it is unwise to trust conclusions based upon its physical viewpoint alone. The eye tells us that the earth is flat, that the sun rises and sets, that the giant planets are little electric lights, that the universe of forms about us are solid shapes, and just what they appear to be. But mathematics, magnifying instruments, and analytical analysis undo all this little world which the eye makes for us. These tell us that we are virtually blind, having eyes we see not, that the earth which seems so solid beneath our feet is a transparent globe, that it is made up of particles, no two of which touch, that these particles are not stationary, but in a high state of vibration, that our bodies are formed of living atoms that whirl about one another like cannonballs, that nothing is solid, but everything is in a state of flux, not molten, but in free activity similar to gas. These are not metaphysical assumptions, but the verified discoveries of physical scientists, and we have stated but a moiety of their startling revelations. They tell us that every cell in the body seems to have a definite purpose and is striving with all its might to accomplish that purpose. Instead of flesh and blood and bones forming our bodies, as we once supposed, and which still seems true to the eye, they are but aggregations of microbes or life germs. That our blood is made up of these lively little corpuscles, rolling along like a street full of people, each intent upon his work, yet moved by a force he does not directly perceive. That the white corpuscles are veritable little policemen, protecting and keeping order among the workers. Thus a research for the exact truth about things reveals that there is in reality no such thing as a solid, inert substance, called matter, and the physical scientists have thoroughly demonstrated the truth of the metaphysical statement, there is no reality in matter. They have gone farther than this. They have demonstrated that all is mind, and the manifestations of mind. When the announcement was made that the body was formed of living germs, and that disease microbes must be substituted for the old-time concept of corrupt matter, the mental foundation of all things was established, and the era of the metaphysical healer ushered in. Yet these prophets of a new therapeutic system have no concept of what their proclamations will open the way for. They are like the voice of one crying in the wilderness, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord." They tell us that the greatest need of the human organism is an increase of life energy. This was also the message of the most successful physician the world has ever had. He said, "I one come that ye might have life, and have it more abundantly." Physical science does not reveal to us the source of the more abundant life necessary to the health of the organism. We must draw upon a higher system of thought for this. Neither does physical science recognize the mentality of the body as a whole. It has analyzed a little here and a little there, and wherever it goes below the surface of appearance, it discovers mentality at work, but it has not put all its discoveries together and said, "Behold the body, a thing of thought, force, and substance, instead of matter." It is fast approaching this proclamation, and when it has arrived there fully, the drug system will pass away. All progressive physicians are fast eliminating medicine in their healing methods. The body being mind in action, which is virtually accepted by both physician and metaphysician, must have a healing system based upon mental laws. If the body is a colony of little people intent upon building up a cooperative system based upon right mental laws, what power have drugs in the matter? These intelligent little workers instinctively answer these questions by their almost universal resistance of the poison forced upon them. But there is a panacea for every ill that flesh records. Man and the universe would fail in their demonstrations of poise if there were no balance wheels. Mind out of harmony with mental laws must find its poise in a realm corresponding to it. Thus we are forced to adopt a system of healing based upon the moving factors of mind, which are ideas. The question naturally arises, where shall we find the ideas to regulate our mind organ, the body? Surely nowhere but in a realm where ideas are permanent. That realm is not to be discerned with the careless eye, nor transitory feeling. It must be reached through intelligence alone. Hence we are finally forced to search the realm of causing ideas for our remedies. This brings us to a logical recognition of mind as the healing fount. Then the question arises, what is the nature of this only source of health? Intuition answers this for us. If we seek perfection in health, that idea must be formulated in our being, and, if fundamental, it is based in principles that are standard for all life, as the rules of mathematics are standard for all computations. Thus we intuitively know that there is a principle, or standard, of life. Call it first cause, oversoul, Brahm, Jehovah, divine mind, or God, as you prefer. The important thing to those who are calculating the equinoxes of life is the recognition of this universal standard. All men who have mediated upon it have recognized and been recognized by this standard upon which all things rest. They have perceived its character according to their capacity. Like the prism that receives the ray of pure light and reflects it upon the screen in colors, man describes God. He cannot tell in words that which he perceives in spirit. So, like Jesus with his parables, he likens it unto this or that. The description always falls short of the reality and is not satisfactory to the one who is truly religious. Religion is one thing and theology another. There is a true and universal religion which is the same the world over. But this religion cannot be formulated in words or written in books. Jesus was religious. Paul was theological. Jesus is not responsible for the present Christian theology. He was truly religious, which theology is not. Yet this religion, which Jesus hinted at in parables, is based in exact science and is the foundation for all healing of human ills. In fact, these ills are the result of failure by man to conform to religion. Even the tenets of theology have a spiritual basis, which, when understood by man, puts him in possession of the only sure remedy for all ills. But perceived in their literal sense only, they are a stumbling block. Baptism, forgiveness of sin, prayer, the Holy Communion, and the Atonement represent the various spiritual processes through which men come into harmonious relations with the divine law, which, complied with, results in an harmonious and healthy body. Now that we have science proclaiming that the body in all its functions is moved upon by an invisible force, we can readily accept this higher law as the foundation of a scientific therapeutic system. All healing systems are now recognizing mind as the principal factor to deal with, and the religious system bases all its remedies in thought. Baptism by John is a cleansing thought on the natural or material plane of consciousness. This denial of thought about the reality of material things opens the mind to another, the spiritual baptism. This goes deeper into the consciousness and sends one into the very wilderness of human thought, where we have to meet all the adverse selfishness of personality. This belief in a personal life separate from the universal life is the adversary of Scripture. It is acquisitive, would turn stones into bread, it is vain, would display its power, is ambitious, would rule the world. But the Christ man meets these claims of the personality and through spiritual understanding rises above them. Thus he is healed in mind of mental limitations that produce a horde of diseases in the human family. Acquisitiveness is a soul starver and makes the body its slave. It is a thief and steals, Judas-like, from every faculty and organ of the body. Its dominant thought is the acquirement of substance, and the stomach and bowels being identified with that department of man's thought, suffer through the selfishness of this adversary. When convicted of sin, there is a letting go of the thought of selfish acquisition, and the bowels of Judas gush out. All healers will testify to this intimate relation between acquisitiveness and the stomach, and the restoration of activity in that starved organ when the demands of the adverse thought are denied. Thus the baptism of the Spirit heals when understanding is added to faith. Prayer throws the I am into the spiritual realm, quickens all the thoughts in the mentality, and through them increases the vibratory energy of the organism. Men ought always to pray, said Jesus. There is a therapeutic panacea in prayer, far greater than in drugs, climate, or electricity. The mind is the great vitalizer, and when thought is set into activity, every gland in the organism responds by letting go some of its energy. The highest form of mental action is where soul and body are blended by the baptism of the Spirit. This baptism is brought about only by prayer. In sincere, earnest prayer, every nerve is permeated by a fine life essence that heals and sustains the body. An understanding of the true character of the body as a form of mind and its ultimate connection with the enveloping and surrounding intelligence clears up all the so-called miraculous healing through prayer. There are no miracles. That which seems miraculous is the action of a law not yet understood. In order to get the healing force of prayer, one should understand it in all its mental attitudes. Most people have no concept of prayer beyond the petition, the perfunctory or fervent asking for something which they hope to receive at some time in the future, if it be the will of God to give. This is not the prayer that brings results. Jesus said, "Pray believing that ye have already received, and ye shall receive." This makes prayer not only a petition, but also acknowledgement that the petition has been complied with. When we realize the omnipresence and inexhaustible capacity of the realm of ideas, which are the only gifts that God bestows upon man, we see how true this sort of prayer is, and how necessary in the fulfillment of the spiritual law. God is more willing to give than we are to receive. The divine mind is just as bountifully supplied with ideas, and they are as inexhaustible as the rules of mathematics. The more you use the ideas of spiritual harmony, health, and plenty, the more expert your mind becomes in bestowing their results in your body and affairs. Anyone can prove the therapeutic power of a spiritual thought by mentally affirming day after day for, say, 30 days, that he is filled with divine life and energy. At the end of that time, he will have the evidence of the idea in a stronger life flow in his organism. Thus, the observance of true religion and an extension of its truths into the conscious, everyday thought will eventually be the one and only source of health for man. All healing methods that do not take the spiritual man into consideration are temporal and transitory. There is but one way to attain wholeness, and that is the way of the spiritual man, mystically called Jesus Christ. I am the door. By me if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and go out, and shall find pasture. End of article.